Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the Saul's Journey podcast. This is a place where we're going to try and figure out how life works, because none of us got an instruction manual, and it sucks sometimes. Other times it doesn't suck, but let's delve into it. I wanted to start this episode by checking in with you. How are you doing? Have you asked yourself that today? What have you been up to? How you been? I'll spend the first 5 minutes checking in with myself, but today we're going to be talking about a topic. We're going to be talking about what to do when you don't know what to do. You know that time when you really feel the energy where you want to go somewhere and you want to achieve something? You know it's there, but you can't figure out what it is? I've been through a bit of that recently. I want to talk about it and how I navigated it and how I got through it and where I'm going with it. So yeah, before we get there, I'll tell you where I've been at. It has been 12 days since I recorded the last podcast, and in those 12 days, a lot has happened. I got the flu. It sucked. Really, really sucked. It's currently winter where I live, in Newuqay in Cornwall, and British winters, no matter where you live, even if you live in the tourist tropical paradise that is the southwest of England, it still sucks. It's grey, it's dark, it's cold, it's wet, it's depressing, and getting sick just times 1,000 on that already. It is by far the worst thing, and I'm being dramatic here. There is significantly worse things than that, but it's pretty bad. And yeah, so I got the flu and it sucked. And to be honest, getting ill for me is a very big trigger. I have quite an anxious mind, or a very active mind, and if I'm honest, being stuck inside, a little bit of a trigger for me. I start thinking the world is going to just forget who I am, that life's moving on without me, it's all terrible. And so just been trying this time with the flu. My goal was to just keep on the right path, so that at least by the time I recover, it doesn't take me 2 weeks to get back into normal life. Just keep trying to hold on to normal things. And actually, something extremely lovely happened when I got this illness. When I was a kid, I lived really far away from people, and I felt quite isolated. And I always wished that I had friends that could come and help if I ever needed it. And now I live in a town of people that are quite a nice close-knit community, and I thought I'd be vulnerable, and I posted an Instagram story about asking if someone could deliver some soup, and inner child Saul was very nervous about this. He was like, "Why are you doing this, man? You're just gonna get rejected." And out of nowhere, 2 lovely people came and delivered soup from the supermarket, flowers, ginger, everything. You know who you are, and thank you. You have healed this little wound inside me that was no one's going to help me. Oh, I'm on my own. And it was just bloody lovely. I can't lie, I cried a little bit. And that was lovely. And I recovered from the flu, kept myself sane. I think I watched almost the entirety of Suits, and Project Amber. If you follow his YouTube channel, CJ, he sent me over the videos of his last series of him going on a van trip to Italy after a breakup. Amazing. Watch it. He converts an ambulance and is just the best. And his dog Lance is also the best. Anyway, last thing that I'll check in with is the surfing swell, the waves down in Cornwall and Newuqay the last couple of weeks have been mental, insane, cranking, off the hook, ridiculous, crazy. Than I can use English to explain. Cribber, our local big wave spot's been going off. There's been 20-foot waves there, maybe even 30-foot. We got to watch it. It was mental. We got to see Rob Fowley towing into these huge waves, getting massive barrels going over the falls. At one point, they rode a jet ski into the rocks. Just mental, like a Red Bull documentary, but in real life. It was just insane. The most insane thing you've ever seen. I got to surf my brains out. I'm really happy about that, because I was really anxious because I got the flu and then the waves came and I was like, no, everyone's having such a good time. Surfline was posting about how sick it was, and I was like, I can't surf. And the worst part about the flu is those week after you're really sick where you're not that sick anymore, but you're too sick to exercise. That sucks. I did end up probably returning to surfing a little bit too early. There was one day where I went to go and check it, like just to watch. And it was like glorious blue sky, perfect 4-foot waves, no wind, sunset, the sky was pinky glorious. And I was like, screw this, man. If it kills me, I'm getting a fucking wave. And I dragged myself out, dragged my wetsuit on. I was like dizzy. The world was wobbly. I remember like walked down. I was like, I'm not feeling good. And like I paddled out and like nearly blacked out on the paddle out. Like, I'm not even joking. I was so ill. And I got out there and I was like, I don't even know where I am right now, but it's glorious and I don't care. Had a good surf then, and then pretty much surfed every day after that. And it was just glorious. It was absolutely like just endless. Some big days too. Had one day where I thought I was going to die, and that was great. It's very much type 2 fun, which is the fun where afterwards you realize it was fun. During, it's quite scary, but that was really good. So all in all, it's been a pretty big 2 weeks. And on top of that, I've also been experiencing quite a lot of existentialism, a lot of like, what do I want to do next? Because I've really come into this new year feeling like I'm ready to attack. I'm ready to go somewhere, full of that masculine, like, I'm going to run through some bloody walls this year. Bad day to be a wall because I'm coming. But I couldn't figure out which walls to run through. my sat-nav's been pretty off. And yeah, I think getting sick and then surfing really helped like clear out all the distractions I've been going through, and really made me realize I'm ready for something. So that leads me on to the topic of today's podcast. What to do when you don't know what to do. The fog, the confusion. Me personally, I find it very easy to do things that are hard but simple. For example, I love fixing cars. I like building things. I like woodwork. I like carpentry. I like surfing waves. I like exercising. I love things where you just switch the brain off and just like just attack. Go. Just suffer. Just go for it. It's hard. It's rewarding. It's adrenaline filling. Fixing cars is brilliant too, because you just get to hit things with a hammer and normally it fixes it, and it's so good. I love that stuff so much. But call it curse, call it whatever, call it life. The most fulfilling things in life, the most amazing things in life, like the real high-end, top-level fulfilling things in life, they aren't things where you can just hit them with a hammer and they go better. That's English, but we'll move on. Like, let me give you an example. An intimate relationship, a really good friendship. Writing a book. You can't hit. Well, I wouldn't recommend that you hit someone in an intimate relationship with a hammer. It doesn't really work well, typically. Writing a book, trying to hit a book with a hammer also doesn't work very well. Starting things that require a little bit more fulfillment in the whole upper realm, the creativity realm, the systemizing realm, the things where things are a little bit floaty and woozy, they require a bit more finesse, a bit more feminine, a bit more like figuring things out, letting it be unknown, treading the fog. And me personally, I suck at that. I hate it. I hate the unknown. I hate letting go of control. I hate trusting. And I find it so difficult to do it. Like, I will get stuck in analysis paralysis. I will get angry. I will get frustrated. I'll get impatient. And I'll just want to metaphorically hit it all with a hammer and just go and take my toys and go home. However, recently, it has occurred to me after I've run into this wall about 1,000 times that I need to stop giving up and trying to dissect where is this coming from. And I can tell you where it comes from in me, which is very simple. Heady stuff, like creative stuff that uses the brain, reminds me of school. And I hated school. I hated assessments. I hated work. I hated homework. It was boring. It sucked. And the teenager in me absolutely loves throwing his middle finger up at heady things and just being like, screw this, I'm going to go and surf waves. So I get this whole teenage thing that goes, for example, I've been trying to figure out how I want to create content on social media. That's actually been the thing I've been really wrestling with. How on earth do I create content in the social media world? Because in truth, I know I want to. I know I have a thing that I want to put out. I know I want to try and make the world a better place by talking about stuff like this, but I could not figure out how. And so I make social media reels. And I keep making the same reel over and over again. I'll try and make something cool, and I'll end up just preaching, shouting at a camera for 30 seconds, saying the same thing over and over again. And it's so frustrating. It's like, oh, I've accidentally built... It's like someone that like keeps accidentally making the same song or building the same chair or, I don't know, writing the same book. It's so frustrating. And what I've realized is I've been taking it from like a very teenage way, in the sense of like, I've been feeling like I don't want to do the work of sitting with the uncertainty of a creative project, of something where I don't know where exactly it's going, and easing it and slowing it. I've been taking this teenage angry boy energy and being like, if I bash this out with enough energy, it will succumb to my will. It is an item to be defeated. It's something I need to win. And the only thing you end up doing is just crushing it. Like, you just crush it in your hands, and it's not delicate and it's not beautiful. And I think, in essence, the problem comes from not having trust and not having faith, and also not understanding and honoring how difficult heady stuff and creative stuff can be. Because, let me give you an example. Surfing big waves, you know it's hard because they're massive freaking waves, and they look like they're going to kill you, and everyone around you is saying, what are you doing, you're a maniac. And the people that are really good at it are people that are like, I was born on a surfboard, I'm going to surf the waves. Oh, do not know what that accent was, please ignore me. But like, people know that surfing big waves is hard. People know running a marathon is hard. People know fixing a car is hard. However, writing a book, starting a new business, a creative act, it's not inherently hard, in the sense of like, it's not as physically difficult as running a marathon. It's much more techie. And for me personally, I didn't honor that. And I would expect it to be easy because I didn't want to try hard at it, because I had this like teenage coding, which was anything that was heady is just stupid school stuff, and I'm not going to take it seriously because it's not going to take me anywhere. So recently, what I've been trying to do is recode my brain's reaction to when something is heady, when something's creative, and stop rebelling against it. I had a big negotiation with myself because I realized, Saul, you can keep rebelling against this. You're more than welcome to, but you're going to be 40 and wishing, why on earth have I not done a successful podcast? Why have I not created great films? Why have I not written a book? Why are all these things in my head still, but they've not been done? Oh, but I still got to rebel against the teenager that was existing for 4 years for the next 36 years. And it's like, dude, it's crazy how much we're like fighting an enemy. I'm still fighting my physics teacher from, I'm just looking at the date, maybe 10 years ago. And it's 2025 and I'm 25 now. I'm not 15 anymore. Like, he is still alive. But like, you know what I mean? Like, you can be on your own giving your middle finger up to the people that gave you homework, or you could actually move through it. So what I've been trying to do recently is figure out how, I honor the heady hard work, the fog, the unknown, the things that are difficult, that aren't just beat head in one direction as hard as you can, and then it will submit. How do you navigate when you don't know which direction to go? How do you, because for me, my reaction has always just been, all right, I'm not going to bother. This is too hard. I'm going to go surfing. How do you stay with it? And not only, how do you put effort into something in which you don't know the direction, and it's ugly and it's confusing? And I thought of a cool analogy, which is sometimes you just have to turn the heat up a little bit and do it wrong more quicklier, and be wrong quicker, go down the wrong path quicker, like explore things harder. When I say turn the heat up, what I mean is, you know, when you're like on the pan cooking, you got to crank that heat up a little bit, and it may feel like at first you're doing worse because what you're doing is you're running into making more mistakes and running into more problems more often. So for example, I'll use a real life example instead of saying turn the heat up. I decided this week I really want to work on like my reels and what I want to put out into social media, and my frustration went up 1,000%. I just couldn't make the thing. I was like, this is just frustrating. It can't come out. I can't find flow. It's not perfect. It's not good. I don't feel good making it. I don't feel fulfilled. This sucks. Surely this is terrible. Surely I should break all my camera equipment, quit this, move to Indonesia, and just go surfing for the rest of my life. Real consideration, not joking. And what I realized was I needed to be able to be like the parent to myself and say, no, what you're doing is actually figuring out your path and ironing out the mistakes and ironing out what's best and negotiating that stuff. And that's good. And that is the equivalent of getting up at 5 a.m. and training for a marathon, or going and surfing big waves for 2 hours. Sitting in that uncomfortable space and feeling like the world is ending and being existential and getting frustrated at your art, that's good. And that's the reframe I needed. And maybe you might use that too. It's good. When you're sat there trying to do your project at 8 p.m. because you've got a job and you're tired and you're exhausted and you hate it and it's frustrating, but you know in your mind and your soul that you're doing the right thing, that's good. That's good. That's where the real work happens. That is when you have got something that you need to share with the world and you need to do it. You know, at the end of the day, you can ask me, you can ask anyone, how do I know I'm doing the right thing? You know, when it really, your heart starts ba-bum, when you get a tick of it, when you just feel addicted, you can't stop thinking about it. When you wake up thinking about it, go to sleep thinking about it, it's just the way. And so I propose to you this. Think of it as turn the heat up, walk a little bit faster, walk a little bit harder, go through the mud, go through the trenches, get dirty, make mistakes, do it wrong, put stuff out that you don't like, put stuff out that you're confused about, put stuff out, create something that you don't like, you really like. If you're stuck in that phase where you're making stuff and you don't understand what you're making and it's not there, keep going, go faster, make it more, because you'll be very surprised by what happens. The more you make it, the more mistakes you make, the more you run into that wall of, I just can't figure this out. The more you're crystallizing an idea of what you actually want, the more the essence of what you actually want to put out into the world crystallizes. So actually, it's uncomfortable, it's difficult, but it's good. And in fact, I'm realizing even on this podcast talking about it, it's very similar to training for a physical event, or when you're fixing a car, or when you're building a van. Training for something sucks at the time. You want to stop when you're running at 6 a.m, your legs are cold, your whole body's cold, your legs are screaming, your lungs are burning, you want to stop. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, you get a breakthrough. Suddenly on a creative project, it makes sense. You get the vision from the universe goes, here it is. And you're like, oh yes, there it is. Motivation or clarity. I know what I need to do. I'll give you a real life example. For me, this week's the first time that I've been felt really frustrated with all of this content creation stuff and haven't just thrown my hands up in the air and gone, I'll look at it next week. I'll repeat the same process. I've stuck with it and I've really been like, I'm so frustrated. Why am I so frustrated? I want to put stuff out into the world, and what is it? And so I started making this reel a couple days ago, and I went 100% in. I wrote the themes of the reel, the emotional arc, the scenes, the script, the extra script. I wrote the script 15 times over. I made it. I hated making it. It just didn't work. I watched it back and I didn't like it. And I was like, why do I not like this? Why do I not like this again? And I critiqued it. And instead, what I used to do was very childlike. If I didn't enjoy it and I didn't like it, I'd just fall into a mental depression. And I'd just be like, the world's useless. I'm useless. Everything's terrible. This thing I want to do, I'm never going to achieve. I hate it. It's awful. And I wouldn't take any responsibility for rising and doing more. I would just give up. And so this time what I decided to do was full confession here. I still went to bed for a few hours and felt like the world was awful. That we're not perfect. But I went back to it and I asked myself, why did I hate this? Why did I really not like making this? Why am I looking at this and not in the, there's a time where you're like, I didn't like this because it's not very good. Or you watch it back and you're like, it's just not me. It's just not me. I was watching it back and I was like, this is not me. And in my case, it took days of working through it to finally keep asking that question, have conversations with people. I had a very insightful conversation with a friend. Thank you. You know who you are. And figured out that the reason why I didn't like the reel is because I'm just not someone who works well off a script. I don't like rules. I don't like crystallized, deliver this line, do this, do this, do this. I just want to talk. I want to have topics and I want to flow. And I realized, like, the reels just aren't doing it for me. Like, I want to talk, man. I want to just let it roll. And the reels are actually taking away from that. The crafted scenes are taking away from that. I'm not patient enough to craft out the most perfect little painting of a scene. I just want to bash it down. And so I realized, dude, you got to hop on the podcast, man. You got to work on those podcasts. You got to get out there and talk. And that's blown my brain to be like, yeah, this is it, man. This is the real thing. And I'll admit, there was a massive ego battle in me because I really was like, I really don't, I wanted to be the adventurer. I wanted to be the Bear Grylls. I wanted to be, God, who else was there? I wanted to be Bear Grylls. I wanted to be Casey Neistat, you know? I wanted to be these people who make these brilliant videos and are known as these amazing adventurers. But it's not me. The whole time I'm making those videos, all I'm thinking about is this is distracting me from being able to talk to you guys, talk to whoever's on the other side of this as a person. I love to banter and I love to flow and talk. And I did a negotiation with myself and I was like, well, maybe one day you can make some adventure videos, you know? Maybe one day you can make some cool, wild videos, but they're not going to be the thing that you know is your heart purpose. Your heart purpose is not big adventure videos. I like going on big adventures. I love going on big adventures. I putting my own life in danger and doing something stupid. Sign me up. But I like that because it feeds my soul and it feeds my brain. It's funny. I love surfing because it ignites my brain into 1,000 ways so I can think of new philosophy ideas, think of new ways to look at the world. I'm out there when I'm surfing and my brain's making links between different things that I've thought about for thousands of hours. And it's like, eureka. I love that. It serves me. The adventures serve my brain to serve this higher purpose of sharing these ideas on the internet. I don't serve those adventures. People like Nathan Florence is someone who is that. Nathan Florence, John Florence are put on the earth to go and surf the most mental waves on the planet and go to like bloody Italy and discover in Venice there's a secret pipeline wave underneath the bloody dolphin water and surf it perfectly. You know what I mean? Like, those people are served for that. And I had to drop the ego and be like, it's not me. This is my purpose. Not anything else. Not sitting on a Land Rover watching amazing waves break. I want to do that in my real life. It doesn't have to be part of my art. But what I really enjoy is talking like this and eventually interviewing people who have these amazing ideas. Trust me, I'm going to get Nathan Florence on this podcast. I'm going to get Casey Neistat on this podcast. I'm going to get the third person. I said Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls is actually the more realistic one because I grew up next to him. And I reckon I'm only like 2 Kevin Bacon scores away from him. Kevin Bacon scores, Google them. I'm not explaining it. But yeah, I realized that for me, it's talking like this is my love. But my ego was like, no, you've got to be the big adventurer, man. So yeah, I think we'll stop it there because we're nearly at the 25-minute mark. But I just wanted to say, you know, treat heady stuff just the same as physical things. It might suck when you're in it. But imagine the goal in the future and just turn the heat up, work a bit more at it, stay with it, reframe the difficulties as good, and you'll be amazed what happens. You might have to do some working with the ego to figure out what your exact purpose is, but you'll get there. I promise. I mean, yeah. And one thing from this that I've personally realized is that I love making these podcasts so much, and they're going to come a lot more. I'm going to really want to go for it with this. I want this to become my job. This is me on day 2 or episode 2 manifesting that. I want this to become my job. I would love it to expand into something beautiful and massive. So yeah, thanks for watching. Do me a massive favor. If you got this far, give me a message. Tell me what you thought. Share the podcast. I'm going to be hopefully clipping it up and putting it on my Instagram a bit more. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Tell me what you think. If you see me in person, shout out to those in Newuqay. Tell me what you think of the podcast. Give me yeah. I love you. Have a great day. Keep killing it. And I hope you're enjoying the winter. If you live somewhere where it's currently summer, just piss off. No, I'm joking. Enjoy your summer too. But yeah, this has been Saul. Checking out. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. It's currently Friday. And I will see you soon. Peace.